Now, the biggest night for the future of the NBA just went down in the 2026 NBA draft. And with the first round being over, while it was a relatively predictable and safe draft considering what went down, there are still some very clear winners and some very clear losers. And before we get into what teams should be holding their head up high because they just set their teams up for greatness in the future or even title runs next year, and well, which teams chose poorly or are really now stuck to the point that we need to start having some serious conversations about their future, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 500 subscribers. Let's reach that goal. Make sure you do your part and leave a like and hype up the video while you are at it. And well, getting to number one on this list, we're going to start with the number one winner, which I think the biggest beneficiary of this draft is no other than the number one pick holders themselves, the Washington Wizards. And of course, their number one selection, AJ Dybantsa. This is obviously the right choice, and I think the more time and time goes on, this is going to become apparently obvious. Now, we all know how good this player is, and I'm not going to waste any time explaining what we're already all aware of, but what I will say, especially seeing him do more media than it feels like almost any prospect in years has this weekend, the intangibles of this guy, the attitude, the leadership skills, and the will to be great. You could see it in his eyes. You could hear it in his voice. Dybantsa is ready to go, and he is ready to claim greatness in this league. And he really has a chance with the current Wizards team right now to maybe snag a play-in or playoff spot in year one, and that would be huge considering where the franchise has been at. And going beyond this season, this guy really does seem like one of the top franchise guys that you could have, alongside players like Wemby and Cooper Flag. Get used to this name because this is somebody who we could be talking about all the way through the 2040s, pushing 2050 if we start seeing guys have careers anywhere near the length of LeBron. And I said some positive things, so now it's time for the losers. And I know I'm going to make some people upset, and I'm willing to be wrong on this down the line, but I don't think I will be. It's just as confident as I am in Dybantsa. I am not confident in this guy, and who I think out of the top four is going to be the loser, the bust, the failure, and the one that's going to cause a lot of regret is the Utah Jazz getting Darryn Peterson. I know Danny Ainge is going to do what he has to do to get him to buy in and all that. But again, with this crop of players and the intangibles that they are showing, I think at the end of the day, this goes under the radar, but basketball is 50%, if not 80% close to mental. Going off the attitude he has shown, even him looking like he's gonna cry in the press conference after getting drafted, only working out with the Wizards, of course him missing all the games he did last year in college for whatever reason that you want to believe. Which, on that, if it's physical or personal, when you could have got a guy like Boozer, who seems like he is as mature of a rookie as you can get, comes from an NBA family, his father literally works for your team in the Jazz, I see danger with Darryn Peterson, and I think he is going to let a lot of people down. But now moving into some winners that I don't think as many people are talking about, well, just as much as teams may have found their franchise guy in the first round of this draft, other teams just locked in that they are going to have another title run. And I think the sleeper team with how they performed in the draft was the New York Knicks. Not in terms of who they drafted, but, well, who they didn't draft. I think tonight was a night that showed that Leon Rose is in that top pyramid of executives, and if you said he is the best executive in the league, it would be hard to argue against, because in this tight offseason where the champs are trying to avoid that second apron and need to bring back and re-sign their entire bench from Shamet, Alvarado, Mitchell Robinson, and whoever else comes back and they need to fill out. Well, for a team who already had young guys that were picked recently, like Bacome Dadier riding the bench, not touching the court in the finals, they avoid getting another one of those, and most importantly, having them eat up the salary of a key bench player who could make serious contributions to their back-to-back run. And every cent of what they are doing counts because they don't have much money to begin with. And with the Knicks now flipping picks like they are in the middle of a 2K sim, well, it seems like they are not done making moves and they are going to continue to shuffle around everything that they are holding to avoid getting caught in these rookie deals for players that do not fit their timeline. This is very good asset management from the Knicks here. And being a direct beneficiary of these moves, I do think a small but real winner in this draft was the Los Angeles Lakers. They got the steal of the draft to me with Cameron Carr. Through this, I would say they definitely walk out a victor, getting a really nice young player. And when it comes to the losers of this draft, I could change my mind going into the second round depending on how things play out. But to me, the Denver Nuggets have been one of, if not the biggest losers from this night, as they are trying to do the same thing that the Knicks did, except they are not defending a title. Their roster is falling apart, and they lost their first round pick and got the 35th pick and 2 future second rounders in a trade with the Spurs. And there are so many red flags here, which one of the big ones is just handing over another pick to the team that you're going to have to beat the defending conference champion in the West. And from making your rival stronger and making defeating them an even more impossible task, that's already enough to call this a disaster. And while Denver is trying to escape cap issues and tying up money to players that won't contribute as much as they demand, seems like Denver is starting to fall over and they are losing the Western Conference arms race against the other powers of the West as they get weaker and weaker and the others get stronger and stronger. And speaking of that, well, for the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder in their own right, to me, besides the Wizards, they are the biggest winners of the draft because for the Spurs, they had Terrence Reed Jr. with that Denver pick, a center, someone who looks like they could take the pressure off Wemby, play with him more on the court than Luke Kornet can, and who is a beast, a monster in the paint, also coming from UConn. So you know that you're getting a guy from a proven system, a winning culture. He seems like he has every single thing lined up to be a great Spur. And to even be the Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason-like figure that Wemby needs to protect him. And the Spurs also got Jalen Quaintance, who I would not say is the steal of the draft necessarily, but I would say is the gamble of the draft. If this pick ends up working out, the dividends will pay off exponentially and change the Spurs so much for the better. As for this player, he was projected to go in the lottery about a year ago until he tore his ACL. And for a team like the Spurs that has too much good talent, you could rarely say that about teams in this league, but the Spurs definitely fall into that category. He either becomes good, makes them better, or he fails and it's not a big deal because they already have too many guys in the first place. And in that worst case, he probably can be used in a trade package because another team will want to take a swing at him and try to unlock his potential if the Spurs cannot. So the Spurs have really opened themselves up to having so many more options with their list of young players, with what they can do alongside Wemby. And when it comes to just building a powerhouse juggernaut of a team who is trying to get back and win the title, and when it comes to stopping whatever the Spurs are doing, and of course, Victor Wembanyama, the other winner of this is the Oklahoma City Thunder. As first off, they added their own version of a Wemby stopper, and maybe he'll actually work out, or at least he'll do better than Chet, with 7-3 a day Mara, and they also got Bennett Stritz, who at this point, if Sam Presti trusts him, that means they are good. And overall, the Thunder and Spurs are in an arms race that I don't think anyone else in the West is coming close to. We have never seen contending teams also get this much talent in the draft, really, in the history of watching this sport as far as I can remember. And while some teams are fighting to win, like the Knicks, Spurs, Thunder, even the Nuggets, and they are making moves as a contender and win-now team, outside of the top 2 picks, the team that I think did the best job of landing a guy who I believe will lead them to a much-needed new era of prominence at that is, if they don't mess it up, the Sacramento Kings getting Darius Acuff Jr. I am really high on this guy. I think he can be the point guard of the future for them if they don't trade him to the Pacers or the Spurs. And with Sacramento getting another UConn guy in Alex Caravan, This is a floor raiser, glue guy, great shooter, and he is going to work with a cuff and bring hope to a city that needs hope more than any other NBA franchise. That is safe to say. And overall, from these teams, I think the Wizards and the Kings, they are the big winners in terms of setting up their future and really getting the right guys to it. I think the Knicks, the Spurs, and the Thunder all made perfect moves to continue their title runs. And I think the Lakers are a sleeper beneficiary team. And I also do think the Bulls and Grizzlies made the right moves to start to position them for a better era in the future. I should mention that as well. And when it comes to the losers, well, I think the Jazz are going to regret their pick, and I think this really is the beginning of the end for Denver. Although I know I'm saying that prematurely, I do think we are going to reach that point eventually. Adding to the list of losers, I think the other big loser is the Philadelphia 76ers. Because with them getting LeBaron Philon Jr., it's not that he's a bad player. But we just saw this episode. They continue to crowd their roster with guards, which we saw what just happened with Jared McCain. If you were telling me that he was going to play a promising backup role and help out VJ and Tyrese Maxey when they're not on the court, I would say okay. But after we literally saw Jared McCain fall apart on this team, and then he immediately left, went to the Thunder, and we saw how good he became. To me, this just seems like another horrible move from arguably the most awful run organization in the league. But overall, with this NBA draft, from contenders using this night to get closer to the mountaintop in a way that is truly showing how complicated and genius the team building process has gone, and how the architects putting them together are really just different levels of basketball minds than we have ever really needed to see. To beyond that, teams hitting that reset button and putting their trust in one guy and giving them the keys and hoping they are going to bring them back to glory or bring them to glory for the first time. Well, overall, the basketball world just changed, and if you don't realize it yet, eventually, history is going to show us who truly is the biggest winner and the biggest loser from the 2026 NBA draft. And so now with all that said, let me know your thoughts on the 2026 NBA draft. Who do you think did the best? Who do you think did the worst? Let me know your thoughts on everything. And if you made it to this point in the video, please make sure to subscribe if you have not already. I want to hit 500 subscribers next, and leave a like and hype up the video while you're at it. I can't thank you enough. And if you want to see before this my thoughts on the Pat Riley trade, or you want to see how rap and the NBA are fusing together with Kendrick Lamar leading the charge and Kyrie Irving and Stephen Curry are right behind him, you're not going to want to miss either of these because they are great. So check out the videos on your end screen right now.